everyone, my name is Maria and welcome to Blending at the Beginning. Today our phonics focus will be short E, the last of our short vowels, using my blending at the beginning strategy along with hands-on learning, so important to the learning process. If you're new to my channel, thank you for tuning in, and I encourage you to go back and check out my Blending at the Beginning introduction to learn more about the program. And one more thing, please be patient and do not work past the learner's attention, ability, or interest level. All right, let's get started with short E. So short E says eh, eh. And I always like to use words that begin with short E so they can really hear the vowel sound. For any short vowel, so they can really hear the vowel sound. For instance, eh, empty. And you can emphasize the eh. Eh, eggs. Eh, exit. Eh, entrance. Okay, let's get started blending at the beginning with short E. All right, so I've uploaded my learning guide for this lesson to a link in the description box, along with other links you might find helpful. All right, for this lesson, you will need, of course, short E, the E vowel, along with A, I, O, and U, to be used for a review later on in the lesson. Remember, the learner must know the beginning consonant sounds to be successful in this phonics program. All right, to make the letters, you can use sticky notes, index cards, whatever works for you. Remember to make the vowels in one color and the consonants in another. All right, let's get started. The first thing we have to do is sing our vowel song. E says eh, E says eh. The letter E can say eh, the letter E can say eh. E says eh, E says eh. Now, remember we start with the baby sound. The baby can't say the whole word, just the beginning. So we take a consonant here and we say eh, fe. Right? And let's show them another one. How about L? L, E, le. And another one. M, E, me. Now, if the learner happens to know that this word is me, what I would tell them is, yes, when it's all by itself, it's me. But we're going to add another letter here. We're making CVC words, consonant, vowel. We're going to put another consonant here. And that way, the E will say eh, because another letter, consonant, is going here. So just for your own interest, this is called an open syllable. And when the word ends with a vowel, then the vowel is long. Or the syllable, I should say, when the syllable ends with a vowel, the vowel is long. Now we're going to close the syllable up, just to show you. And now we've closed it, and the vowel now is short. Okay, so we would say for this lesson, this is me. Now the next step, after you've done a bunch of those and you feel like they really understand the baby sound, you can ask them now, can you show me ne? And just have them show you ne. How about, back up there, how about pe? Okay, now if they're having trouble, make the choices smaller. Put a couple, maybe 3 consonants and have them choose from the 3 consonants. And how about re? And you can emphasize the sound if they need that. All right, the next thing we're going to do is add the final consonant. So here we have initial consonant, short vowel, and now we're going to add now we're going to add a final consonant to make a word. And so you could say, put this up here, and hopefully with the baby sound it becomes more automatic. They won't have to go r-eh. They'll automatically get that red. But if not, you can help them. R-eh, red. Remember, we're blending at the beginning. Initial consonant, following vowel sound, and then we add the final consonant. All right, let's try another one. How about this? All right, so make the word this get, and you could say, all right, help them out. See if they can get the baby sound. Get. Not quite ready. You can help them sound it out. Get. All right, so let's say you've worked with that for a while. Maybe it's another day and you want to try to let them add the final consonant. And you could say to them, can you show me den? See if they can find den. This is hands-on. We want them to touch and watch and learn. Okay, and here's another one. You could say, can you show me set? See if they can show you set. All right, so we've added the final consonant. And now we're going to change the final consonant. So, now remember, I'm going very quickly, just showing you a couple examples. You would stay on the skill they're working on until you feel like they're ready to move on. So, okay, now we're going to change the final consonant. So let's start off with the word web. Ask them if they can read the word. If they can't, review the blending rhythm. The vowel is eh, the baby says we, the word is web. And then you can ask them, can you change web to wet? And see if they can do that. And have them read the word. And one thing you can do is to maybe make a list. We did the word web. Wet. That you can read later and just do extra reinforcement with. Okay, let's try another one. Like this time, I'm going to put up this word. See if they can read them. If not, do the blending rhythm and say, can you change pet to pen? See if they can do that. And then you can go ahead and list it if you want. Okay, and let's do one more. All right, put up this, see if they can read it. If not, remember to do the blending rhythm and help them out. And say, can you change let to leg? Leg's kind of tricky because we don't really go leg. Sometimes it sounds like an a, leg, but it's really leg. It's kind of tricky sometimes in the English language. Some words are. All right, so the next activity would be to see if they can do, we worked with CVC words, consonant, vowel, consonant. Let's see if they can do consonant, vowel, consonant, if they're ready. If you don't think they're ready, stay with CVC words. But I just wanted to show you a little extra for those students that might be ready. All right, now I'm going to add this and we're just going to see if they can read that. All right, if not, do the blending rhythm. The vowel is eh, the baby says le, the word is less. Now, if an S, an L, an L, an F, or a Z At the end of the word and the vowel before it is short, you double those letters. S, Z, F, and L. Okay, so we made the word less. And let's try another one and see if they can read it. See if they can read this. Where's my T? All right, we have left. Okay. And one more. How about this one? Let's see here. Where is it? Oh, here you are. And you could even say, what letter do you need here to make send? Or you can just put the word up and help them read it. See if they can read it. The vowel's eh. The baby says se. The word is send. Now, I've uploaded a list of CVC and CVC words in the description box just so that you have an arsenal of words to work with and make different words with your learner. So far, we've worked with the baby sound, adding the final consonant, and changing the final consonant. Next, we're going to be working with rhyming words and changing the initial or final consonant. Now, you might be wondering why we're working with rhyming words when we're blending at the beginning, because rhyming word patterns help build fluency and word recognition skills. All right, let's start with the word bell. And I chose bell because L at times will distort the short vowel that comes before it. You really don't hear that clear eh in bell. So it's good to use rhyming words so they can start to recognize these words. All right, so here we have the word bell, and then you can just go ahead and change it to tell, and see if they can read that. And if they can and they're ready, ask them to show you fell. And maybe well. Okay. All right, let's try another one. Remember we talked about the E, G as well. You don't hear it as, you don't hear the eh as well with beg. You have to say it a certain way to hear it, beg. And just to give them exposure to the words, you can use them for your rhyming words. So you could ask them to change beg to leg. Okay. They should be pretty easy for them. Kids like rhyming words. And let's put one more up. Ask them. Men. You can ask them to change it to den. Maybe you could ask them if they can think of another rhyming word. Maybe they can come up with an idea and say, oh, what about hen? So that's another fun thing you could do. Maybe pen. Do different things with rhyming words. And you could also list them here. And then you can show the patterns. What letter were we changing all the time? What letters stayed the same? Okay, now let's get moving with changing the initial or the final consonant. Okay. So I'm going to start with the word bed. And basically at this point you can let them start to move the word cards and ask them, can you change bed to beg? Here we have our beg again. And beg to leg. So just different activities moving on with the initial. Here we'll change the final consonant, leg to let. And then ask them to change let to met. Here we're doing with our rhyming. And then maybe met to men. See if they can do that. Okay. And one more, maybe men to pen. Okay, so we changed at times the initial consonant, and then we might have changed the final consonant to make new words. Hey, let's review. First, we made the baby sound. Then we added a final consonant. Then we changed the final consonant. Then we made rhyming words. Then we changed the initial or the final consonant. Now we're going to change the vowel sound along with the initial and final consonant. Before we start blending at the beginning with our short vowels, it's a good idea to review first. And I'll give you some things you can do. Flashcards. And these particular flashcards have words on the back you can read. Short vowel chart. And this chart has the short vowel, a picture, and a word. When my young students were assigned to a reading center with a board game, they were always so excited. Board games are a fun way to reinforce learning. And I happened to find online some great board games, free printable, that you can make at home. Here's just an example. And I've uploaded a link for you, along with a link for a spinner. You just put the pencil in, take a paper clip and spin the paper clip. I also found these really cool dice at the dollar store. I thought they were so cute. And here's an example of some games I made. This is called Rhyming Fun. They could roll the dice or use a spinner and land on a word and see if they could find the card that rhymed with that word. It could be a picture or a word card. Here's another one, short A or short I. Pan. They pick up that card, then they would go to A. And here's just a general review of the short vowels. Here we have a bus. They could roll the dice or spin or whatever. And if they get the answer correct, they get to stay there. We have a bus, and they would have to say, for you, for you. All right, let's get blending at the beginning with our short vowels. Okay, we're starting with the word bed. And you can ask them, can you change bed to bad? So we're changing the vowel sound. How about bad to mad? Changing the initial consonant. Mad to mud. Changing the vowel sound. Short vowel sound. Mud to mug. Changing the final consonant. Mug to hug. Changing the initial consonant. Hug to hut. Changing the final consonant sound. And hut to hot. Changing the vowel sound. And hut to hit. Changing the vowel sound again. Thank you for tuning in. I hope my phonics video was helpful to you. If so, please like and subscribe. Also, for reinforcement activities, check out my Blending at the Beginning YouTube on short A and short I for fun activities that you can tweak to fit the phonics skill you're working on. Also, little phonics readers like these are very helpful for reading practice with stories that target phonics skills. Here's an example. All right, here we have from the set, book number 2, Dad. And you can see it targets short A. Further along in the set, we have book number 17 called The Frog Trail. And you can see that it targets long A, and the text is much more difficult. I purchased these through Amazon, and they're made by Scholastic, but there are many, and for about $16, but there are many other vendors and companies from which to choose. Also, remember, the public library is an excellent resource where you can find books, very good books for beginning and emergent readers. Lastly, for those that are ready, I am a proponent of paper and pencil activities. There are many phonics books out there. I just happened to find this one, also by Scholastic, because I felt like it supported my program and the activities are meaningful. But you might find something else that fits your needs. Remember, keep the learning fun with lots of praise, and thank you for blending at the beginning with me.